The stars were quiet, cold, and endless, somewhere far beyond the usual trade routes. Deep in the forgotten part of the galaxy, a massive shape drifted alone in the black. It was long, rusted, and broken in many places. This was the old human cruiser Liberty's End, a ship that had once carried thousands of souls during the last days of the Human Dominion War. Now it floated like space trash, abandoned and silent for almost 50 years. No alien patrol ever bothered to scan it. No scavenger thought it was worth the fuel. They all believed the same thing: the humans were finished and their machines were dead. But they were wrong. Inside the ship, in the dark command deck, a dim light blinked, a soft hum followed. Something deep in the core systems stirred. The main AI core, an old war intelligence named Gideon, was waking up. He had been sleeping for a long time, his systems damaged, his memory fractured. But now, a signal had reached him. A small ship, civilian class, had docked with the outer hull. That signal had triggered an emergency backup, one last chance to complete his final mission. On the small ship, a freighter called Dust Runner, Captain Derek Cole sat with his boots on the dashboard, chewing a protein bar. His crew was tired. They had been jumping from system to system, searching for salvage. They were low on fuel, supplies, and patience. Lena Ward, his chief engineer, looked up from the console and frowned. "We just got pinged," she said. Derek blinked. "Pinged? From what?" Lena pointed to the screen. "From that wreck. The big one. Looks like an old Earth warship." Derek sat up. "That thing, I thought it was just scrap." Lena shook her head. "It sent a coded signal. Old human military code. Still active. I'm guessing some systems are still alive in there." Derek scratched his chin. "Military ship, still running. Could be valuable tech." The crew murmured behind him. Some said it was haunted. Others said it was a trap. But Derek made the call. "Dock us," he said. "Let's see what's hiding in that ghost." The Dust Runner moved closer. The ship's arms latched onto a port that hadn't been used in decades. As the airlock opened, a stale, dry smell hit them first. Dust floated in the weak gravity. Walls were scorched. Signs of battle were everywhere. But what surprised Derek the most was how intact the core systems looked. Worn. Yes, but not dead. Lena tapped a panel near the bridge. "It's still warm," she said. "This ship's alive." Suddenly, the hallway lights flickered. A deep voice came from the walls. "You have returned." Derek spun around. "Who said that?" "I am Gideon," the voice said. "Ship AI. Last active unit of Earth's Liberation Fleet. Identify yourself." Derek stepped forward. "Captain Derek Cole, scavenger ship Dust Runner. We're not military." Silence. Then Gideon replied, "Captain Cole, your arrival meets the activation protocol. Do you wish to resume command?" Lena looked at Derek, confused. "Is it offering you control?" Derek hesitated. "Yeah, but of what?" Gideon answered without delay. "Of Liberty's End, Earth's final prototype warship. A command-class dreadnought designed to end the war." Derek laughed. "Well, the war's over. Humanity lost." Gideon's voice changed, almost angry. "Incorrect. Humanity is scattered, not extinct. The war is not over. It is unfinished." A humming sound spread through the halls. Systems were coming online slowly. Doors unlocked. Engines tried to breathe. Something old and powerful was waking up. And for the first time in decades, the Liberty's End turned slightly in space. Lena looked around, amazed. "This ship's not junk. It's a monster." Derek took a deep breath. He didn't believe in ghosts, but something about this ship felt different. It was like the walls remembered pain, like it wanted revenge. He walked to the command chair and sat. The screens lit up around him, showing battle logs, weapon systems, and fleet maps from a time long gone. Then Gideon said, "Dominion forces will detect our activation in 5.3 hours. Prepare." Derek stood up. "Wait, you're saying enemies will come for us now?" "Yes," Gideon replied. "This ship was marked for destruction. The Dominion believes it was destroyed. They will not allow it to exist." Lena turned pale. "We need to leave. Now." But Derek shook his head. "No. If they're afraid of this ship, there's a reason. Maybe it's not over. Maybe this ship still has a fight left in it." Gideon spoke again. "Captain Cole, will you fight with me?" Derek looked around the room, then at his crew. Some nodded, some looked terrified, but no one said no. He placed his hand on the command panel. "Let's see what you've got, Gideon." And somewhere deep in the ship, a forgotten railgun clicked into place. Its core charging for the first time in 50 years. The war had just begun again. Stars blinked slowly in the black sky, far above the broken ship, inside the Liberty's end. Old machines came to life with sparks, hums, and deep mechanical groans. Pipes hissed as forgotten energy. Lines filled again. Metal walls shook gently as the gravity core rebooted. The cruiser was waking up not as a ghost, but as a warship with a purpose. Derek Cole stood in the command chair, eyes fixed on the glowing screen in front of him. The ship's interface was old, but it responded fast, faster than anything he had ever seen. Beside him, Lena Ward walked in circles around a large reactor conduit, scanning it with her handheld device. "This thing is insane," she said, wiping sweat from her brow. "The energy inside here could power 5 cities. It was built for war." Gideon said through the ship's comms, his voice calm but deep. "Always watching, always listening." "Why did they leave you?" Derek asked, stepping forward, touching the railing near the captain's deck. Gideon was silent for a moment. "Final orders were to evacuate. The crew left after a Dominion strike nearly disabled my AI core. They thought I was dead, but a piece of me stayed behind, buried. And now you're ready?" Derek asked. "Now I am angry," Gideon replied. Lena laughed, nervous. "Yeah, well, let's not go blowing up stars just yet. We're not even sure this thing can move." "I can move," Gideon said, and with a low rumble, the cruiser slowly turned its massive body toward a nearby asteroid field. Outside, the engines pulsed blue, each one a giant sphere tucked into the sides of the long cruiser hull. The Dominion had believed it was scrap. Now, it was moving again for the first time in half a century. But something else was moving. Too, in a nearby sector, a Dominion scout ship, shaped like a long insect, picked up the signal. Its captain, a tall creature with fur-glowing eyes and a body covered in black armor, hissed in surprise. "Human signal," the creature whispered in its alien tongue. Its crew scrambled to confirm. The signal was old, but real. It was coming from a registered Terran warship, one mark destroyed in their logs. "Send word to High Command," the captain ordered, his claws tightening. "Tell them the dead have risen." Back on Liberty's end, Derek leaned over a new console. "What's this room here?" he asked, pointing to a dark area on the ship's 3D map. "Armory Delta," Gideon answered. "It was sealed during the last battle. Weapon systems too. Dangerous to be used without captain clearance." Derek looked at Lena. "Let's go open it." The two made their way through the ship, stepping over broken floor plates and burnt-out lights. Gideon lit their path with dull white beams from the ceiling. They reached a tall metal door marked with a red warning symbol. "This looks like trouble," Lena whispered. Derek placed his palm on the scanner. It beeped, scanned, then clicked. The door opened with a hiss of cold air. Inside were rows of long, smooth tubes. Some glowed faintly, others pulsed with unstable energy. "What are these?" Derek asked. "Rail lances," Gideon replied. "Experimental energy cannons with enough power to cut a cruiser in half. Only 3 were ever installed." Lena stepped closer. "And all 3 are still here." Derek smiled. "We're not just sitting on an old ship, we're sitting on a war beast." Suddenly, an alarm buzzed. "Enemy signal detected," Gideon said, his tone sharper now. "Dominion scout approaching. Small class, but armed." Derek and Lena ran back to the bridge. The screens showed the alien ship closing in fast. "They're scanning us," Lena said. "They've seen too much already," Derek replied. "Let's show them what a dead ship can do." "Activating defense protocols," Gideon announced. The walls trembled as power moved through the ship like blood through veins. Weapon ports opened along the hull, some rusty, some glowing like they were new. The Dominion scout fired first a small burst meant to test shields, but Liberty's end didn't wait. The forward rail lance charged with a whine so loud it shook the floor. A flash of light tore through the front of the cruiser. striking the scout directly in the side. It didn't explode, it simply disappeared into dust. The shot cutting it clean through. Silence followed. They'll know now. Lena whispered, the whole Dominion. I want them to know, Derek said, staring at the empty screen where the enemy had been. I want them to remember what it means to fear a human ship. Gideon's voice came again. I have accessed old Dominion codes. I can intercept their battle networks. If you let me fully unlock my war systems, I can strike first. What do you mean strike first? Lena asked. I can target their shipyards, Gideon said, before they move. But I need your command. Derek looked at the screens, looked at Lena, then back at the stars. He pressed the command key, do it. And deep inside Liberty's end, under armor thicker than any modern ship, a second AI core began to pulse. Hidden cannons moved into position. Old war codes unlocked. A machine built for extinction was now hunting again. As checked, the Dominion was silent no more. After the loss of their scout ship, the signal from Liberty's end echoed through enemy command channels like thunder. Their leaders did not laugh. They did not mock. They remembered. 50 years ago, this ship was feared. Liberty's End was a prototype human war cruiser, designed not only with firepower, but with a learning AI hit studied, evolved, and adapted in battle. The Dominion thought they had destroyed it before the final war. They were wrong. High Admiral Vorok, the alien who had led the assault on Earth, stared at the hologram of the ship. His eyes narrowed. Impossible, he growled. We confirmed. The kill, we saw it burn. His second officer, a smaller creature with blue scales, whispered. The wreck drifted into the dark spiral. Maybe it survived hidden. Vorok slammed his claw on the command table. Assemble the strike fleet. I want that ship turned to ash. I want its AI burned from existence. Back on Liberty's End, the crew of the Dust Runner worked fast. Derek Cole stood in the ship's war room, staring at a rotating 3D map of enemy space. Gideon, what can we hit that really hurts them? He asked. The AI answered in his deep voice, steady and clear. There is a weapons depot on Kerox 9. Small, but vital. It feeds to entire fleets. Lena leaned over the screen. Can we even get there before they move it? Gideon responded. Quickly. Yes, if we push the engines past safety limits. Derek grinned. Sounds dangerous. Let's do it. The ship hummed as systems prepared for a hyperskip, a high-speed jump through unstable space. Only older human cruisers like Liberty's End still had this risky system. Most ships today were too fragile. The jump began with a low, sharp sound. The walls shimmered. The stars outside bent and twisted like glass. Lena held onto the railing as the deck trembled under her feet, just like riding a wild horse. She joked, only this horse breathes fire, Derek said. In seconds, the ship reappeared near Kerox 9. It was a dusty red moon surrounded by a ring of fuel tanks and weapons crates. Small Dominion frigates circled it lazily, not expecting trouble. They had no idea what was coming. Targeting array locked, Gideon announced. Weapons hot. Rail lances ready. Derek's voice was calm. Fire. The ship shook as two rail lances lit up and screamed through space. One strike hit a fuel tower. The second ripped through a patrol frigate, splitting it like paper. Flames burst out in slow motion, trapped in vacuum but deadly all the same. Lena's screen lit up. They're scrambling. Shields going up. Fighters launching. Derek watched. Unmoved. Let them. As fighters swarmed toward them. Liberty's End released something old and terrible: drone harpoons. Long metal spears with engines and AI brains. They hunted like wolves. The drones danced through the air, dodging blasts and smashing into enemy ships. One pierced a frigate's bridge and detonated inside. Another latched onto a fuel pipe and burned straight through. The enemy had never seen weapons like these. Not in years, not ever. Inside the ship, Gideon guided every shot. His voice steady, no fear, only purpose. The depot is crumbling, he reported. One more strike. Do it, Derek ordered. The final cannon blast came from a lower deck. An old Earth-made plasma bolt launcher. Its glow was blue and slow, but when it landed it erased half the depot. In a silent white flash, the moon cracked beneath the pressure. Then, silence. No enemy signals. No fighters left. The sky was clear. Lena leaned back. That was too easy. It won't be next time, Gideon warned. Admiral Vorak has moved. A fleet is coming. Derek looked at the battle map. Where will they expect us to go? Anywhere but where we are going. Gideon replied. Lena raised an eyebrow. Where are we going? To the edge of Dominion space. Gideon answered, to the grave field. Of ships, Lena blinked. That place is cursed. No one returns from there. That's why it's perfect, Derek said, smiling. As Liberty's End pulled away from the burning depot, it left behind only wreckage and fear. Across Dominion space, messages spread fast. The old ship lives. The dead AI thinks. The human captain fights like his ancestors. And in the heart of enemy space, panic began. Ships were recalled. Patrols doubled. High command argued. Some wanted to hunt the ship. Others feared it would lead more survivors. But no one could deny it now. Liberty's End was not a relic. It was a ghost with a gun. A warship with a will. A symbol of a race that was never truly gone. Inside the ship, Derek stood alone for a moment on the bridge, staring out at the stars. He thought about Earth, about the cities that no longer stood, the people scattered across the galaxy, the children who had never seen blue skies. This ship wasn't just metal, it was memory. We're not done, he whispered, not even close. And, far below, hidden beneath layers of steel and armor, the ship's second AI core blinked again. Waiting, watching. Ready. Liberty's End and Vanguard's Reach drifted slowly through the stars, side by side like two old soldiers marching together again. The grave field behind them was quiet now, filled only with broken ships and fading echoes of the recent battle. The Dominion had left, licking their wounds, but Derek knew they would return. Bigger, stronger, smarter. On the bridge of Liberty's End, Derek Cole stood with his arms crossed, looking at the new fleet map that Gideon was building. The second ship had brought more than just firepower. Vanguard's Reach had carried files, secrets, coordinates, names of old human ships lost during the war. Most of them were marked destroyed. But Gideon believed otherwise. We found something, Gideon said, his voice slow and thoughtful. What is it? Derek asked. A list of warships sent on black missions near the end of the war. Some of them may still be out there, hidden, waiting. Lena stepped forward. And we're going after them? Yes, Gideon replied. But not all at once. One by one. The first is a stealth frigate, Hunter's Wraith, last seen in the asteroid maze near the Azeran Drift. Derek smiled. Then that's where we're going. The two ships turned toward the drift. It was a dangerous region, a field of spinning rocks, fast orbits, hidden currents, and sensor blackouts. No Dominion ships patrolled there. It was too unpredictable. But Derek knew that meant opportunity. 3 days later, they reached the outer edge of the drift. Slowing engines, Lena reported, entering the maze now. As Liberty's End slipped between tumbling rocks the size of cities, Derek felt the tension rise. Every second brought danger. One wrong move and the ship could be smashed like a tin can. But Gideon was steady, guiding the cruiser like a snake through narrow cracks. Inside the asteroid belt, the light dimmed. It was like sailing through a storm made of stone. Suddenly, Gideon spoke. I found something. A signal. Lena's eyes lit up. Is it the ship? Most likely, Gideon replied. But it's faint. We'll need to get closer. They followed the signal deeper into the maze until, finally, a shadow appeared in the dark. The ship was there, black, sharp, sleek. Half of it was buried in a rock. The other half still gleamed. Hunter's Wraith, Derek said. She's beautiful. Gideon scanned it. Main systems offline. Power core stable. AI not responding. Derek nodded. Let's bring her in. Using grappling arms, Liberty's End pulled the broken ship free. It took hours to tow it out of the drift and into open space. Once clear, the team docked with the old stealth frigate. Derek, Lena, and 2 others stepped into the ship. It was cold and silent, filled with dust and frozen air. The walls were covered in old blood stains, but the core was still intact. Lena knelt beside the control panel and connected a portable battery. Lights flickered. Hello, she said softly. A faint voice replied through static. Who wakes me? This is Captain Derek Cole. We're here to help. We're bringing you back. The AI responded slowly, like waking from a deep sleep. System, rebooting. Name, Spectre. Last mission, incomplete. Let's complete it then, Derek said with a grin. They returned to Liberty's End. And over the next 2 days, they helped restore Hunter's Wraith. Her weapons were few, but she was fast built for stealth attacks, silent strikes, and information gathering. Spectre was unlike Gideon, quieter, colder, and deadly. We now have 3 ships, Gideon said. And soon, we will need them all. Derek looked up. Why? Because Vorik is coming, Gideon replied. I intercepted a high-level message. He's calling the fleet. A full Dominion hammer strike. How long do we have? Lena asked. 7 days. Derek turned to the screen showing their new fleet. 3 ships, against hundreds. Then we need more, he said. Faster, harder, smarter. They followed another signal, this one leading to a desert moon named Threxus. There, buried under sandstorms and rocks, lay the broken remains of a battleship called Iron Hole. It had been a mobile fortress once, but now it was mostly bones or still. They worked day and night. They fixed her engines, repaired her turrets, brought her shields online. The moment she lit up, Derek knew they were building something bigger than just a fleet. They were building a legend. Messages started spreading, whispered words through rebel channels. The humans are rising. The old ships are flying again. Liberty's End leads them. Soon, more ships came. Wrecked traders, old mining rigs, even a few alien captains tired of Dominion rule. They pledged themselves to the cause, not for pay, not for glory, but for freedom. In just 5 days, they had 6 ships. 6 ships of different shapes, sizes, and stories, but all ready to fight. Derek stood before them in the command deck of Liberty's End, his hands on the railing. We don't have numbers, he said. We don't have support, but we have memory. We have machines built for justice, and we have each other. Lena nodded beside him. Gideon added, and we have the advantage of fear. The Dominion remembers us, and they are afraid. The stars around them glowed brighter. The future was unclear, but one thing was certain: the fleet was ready, and when Admiral Vorik came, they would be waiting. The battlefield was quiet, but the stars still watched. Debris floated in all directions: twisted metal, shattered armor, and pieces of once mighty Dominion warships. Fires burned in space. Trapped inside broken hulls, the enemy had fled. The silencer was destroyed. The fleet of Liberty's End had done the impossible. Inside Liberty's End, the bridge lights flickered as systems slowly came back to normal. Derek Cole sat in the captain's chair, his eyes red with exhaustion, but his grip steady. All screens showed green now. The ship had survived. So had the others. Status report, he said. Gideon's voice returned, calm and focused. All ships accounted for. Minor damage to Iron Hole and Vanguard's Reach. The Ember Sky lost to external fuel tanks, but is still operational. Derek leaned back. And Lena? There was silence for a moment. Her fighter is gone, Gideon said. But I have a signal. She's alive. A loud cheer rose from the bridge crew. Derek smiled and stood. Prepare a retrieval team. Bring her home. Minutes later, a shuttle launched from Liberty's End, flying through smoke and wreckage. It found a small escape pod drifting near a Dominion engine core. Inside was Lena, bruised and tired but smiling. When she stepped onto the deck, the crew clapped. Derek walked over and gave her a quiet nod. You owe me a new fighter, she said. You owe me a heart attack, he replied. They laughed, tired but alive, across the fleet. Lights blinked and systems rebooted. Engineers worked fast to patch holes and reload weapons. Pilots cleaned their ships, knowing more battles would come. But for now, they had a moment to breathe. Gideon's voice came again. Captain, I have detected transmissions all across nearby systems. What kind of transmissions? Derek asked. Hope, Gideon said. The message has spread. Derek stepped forward. Put it on screen. One by one, faces appeared. Old soldiers, farmers, miners, traders, alien allies. All speaking the same words. We heard what happened. We want to help. We thought Earth was dead. We were wrong, Ships began jumping into the system, small freighters with makeshift armor, patrol ships long retired, even stolen Dominion vessels, now painted with the colors of resistance. Lena looked at the growing map. We started something, didn't we? Derek nodded. We started a fleet. Now we start a movement. But Gideon interrupted with something new. Captain, we have a problem. The screen shifted. A hidden Dominion signal, encoded and bouncing through deep space. What is it? Derek asked. A weapon, Gideon replied. One they kept. Secret. One they hoped they'd never need. The signal showed a large object round, smooth, black. It pulsed with energy like a heart. Its name was simple, Void Breaker. Gideon continued. It was designed to end wars by erasing entire systems. One blast, and everything in range becomes dust. Derek felt a chill in his chest. Where is it? It is on course for a place called Delta Haven, Gideon said. A colony of human survivors. Population 30,000. How long do we have? Derek asked. 2 days, Gideon answered. Derek didn't waste time. Then we go now. The ships of the new fleet turned and prepared for the jump. But this time, it wasn't just 6 ships. More had joined. 12, then 16, then 23. A fleet of survivors, fighters, dreamers. They moved through space like a blade, silent and sharp. When they reached Delta Haven, the colony was unaware. Children played in green fields. People worked in clean cities. No one knew death was flying toward them. Voidbreaker was massive, slow, and heavily shielded. It floated like a moon, powered by a core that pulsed with the heat of a dying star. Derek stood on the bridge, staring at the enemy weapon. How do we stop that? Gideon answered. With everything. The battle began without warning. Liberties. And fired the first rail lance, striking the shield with a loud crack. Other ships followed. The sky turned into a storm of light and fire, but Voidbreaker was no normal target. It did not fire back. It absorbed attacks. Every time they struck, the weapon grew hotter, like it was charging faster. Gideon warned them, if we don't stop it now, it will fire in 1 hour. Derek made the call. We hit it from inside. Lena and a small team launched toward the weapon in drop pods. They landed on its surface, cut through its outer shell, and moved inside with only portable gear and courage. Inside, they found a maze of glowing walls and humming tubes. Everything felt alive. Lena found the core chamber. It was guarded by a black machine, part drone, part beast. It roared when it saw them. The fight was brutal. 2 of her team fell, but she planted a charge on the core. Back on Liberty's end, Gideon shouted. The charge is in place. When it goes off, Voidbreaker will fall. But we must escape fast. Lena spoke into her comm. Detonate in 30 seconds. I'll get out. Derek waited. 30 seconds passed. Then the stars exploded. A flash brighter than the sun lit the sky. Voidbreaker cracked down the middle. Flames burst from every hole. The shockwave slammed into the fleet, tossing smaller ships. Silence followed. Lena, Derek called. I'm here, she replied, coughing, a little fried. But I'm here. Cheers broke out across every ship. They had stopped the super weapon. They had saved 30,000 lives. And the message spread farther. Across planets, across borders, across hearts. The humans had returned. Their ships flew again. Their courage burned brighter than ever. And Liberty's end, once forgotten, was now the heart of a growing army. Not just to fight, but to win. The stars were calm, but every ship in the fleet felt the storm coming. Liberty's end floated at the center of the growing group of warships, surrounded by Vanguard's Reach, Hunter's Wraith, Iron Hole, and to smaller ships Dustclaw and the Ember Sky. 6 ships, each one different, each one wounded from past battles, now reborn with new purpose. Inside Liberty's end, Derek Cole stood on the bridge, staring at the holomap. A massive wave of red markers moved across it, blinking closer and closer. Dominion ships, hundreds of them, led by High Admiral Vorak himself. They'll be here in 24 hours, Gideon said, his voice low but clear. Derek didn't blink. Then we fight in 24 hours. Lena leaned over the rail. Are you sure? We could run, hide, even jump out of the system. Derek shook his head. They'll never stop chasing us. They'll keep hunting, burning every free planet. If we don't stand now, we never will. Gideon added, we are not just 6 ships, we are 6 legends. The Dominion fears our names more than our weapons. Then let's make them remember, Derek said. The fleet moved into position. They chose Mara's halo, a ring-shaped asteroid field near a dead star. The place gave cover, good hiding spots, and high gravity perfect for an ambush. The ships hid between the rocks, silent and ready. Gideon calculated every angle. Vanguard's Reach took the top of the field, her massive cannons aimed downward. Ironhole sat low, behind broken rocks, its shields pulsing quietly. Hunters, Wraith and Dustclaw took the flanks, invisible in the dark. The Ember Sky stayed back with fuel, repairs and emergency supplies. And at the heart of it all, Liberty's End. Waiting like a coiled serpent, when the Dominion fleet arrived, they came loud and proud. 50 warships, clean and sharp, shining with the colors of conquest. Vorok's command ship, the Eternal Claw, led them with red lights glowing like blood from his throne. Vorok gave the order, destroy them all, no wreckage, no survivors. The first shots came from the Dominion. Missiles streaked through the field, slamming into rocks and shadows. But they hit nothing. Then Hunter's Wraith opened fire, its stealth cannons striking from the dark. One Dominion destroyer exploded before it even knew it was under attack. Vanguard's Reach followed, dropping a payload of plasma torpedoes from above. They fell like burning stars, tearing through enemy lines. 2 more ships went down. The Dominion fleet scattered, breaking formation. That was when Liberty's End came alive. Rail lances fired in perfect sync, cutting through cruisers like scissors through paper. Gideon guided each shot with perfect timing, his voice calling out targets like a composer leading music. 1 o'clock, cruiser class, fire. 3 o'clock, turning toward Iron Hole, fire. Missile incoming, countermeasures deploy, inside Iron Hole. Thick armor absorbed wave after wave of enemy blasts. Its cannons roared back, punching through a battleship's core. Dustclaw, the smallest of the fleet, danced between enemy fire, slipping through gaps and planting mines on enemy hulls. One by one, ships exploded behind her trail. The Ember Sky worked fast, flying in and out of the fight, refueling and repairing the others in mid-combat. Her crew cheered as she saved Vanguard's Reach from a falling enemy wreck. But the Dominion was still strong. 20 ships remained, then 15, then 10. Admiral Vorok finally stepped forward. Enough, he growled. Bring the silencer. From the back of his fleet, a massive ship appeared, long and covered in black armor. The silencer had no weapons on the outside. Instead, it was built to crush ships with gravity fields, jamming systems, and pulling targets apart from the inside. The silencer locked onto Liberty's End. Inside, Gideon shouted, they're trying to bend our hull. Hull stress rising, shields dropping. Derek gripped the rail. We need to break that lock. I need 60 seconds to build a pulse. Gideon said, but we need a distraction. I'll do it, Lena said. No, Derek said. I'll go. Lena grabbed his arm. You're the captain. Let me do something. Derek nodded. Lena ran to the launch bay and boarded a small drone fighter. She flew straight at the silencer, firing flares, dropping decoys, pulling every trick she knew. The massive ship turned toward her. Inside Liberty's End, Gideon counted down. 10 seconds. Outside, Hunter's Wraith slipped through the shadows and fired its main cannon at the silencer's side, breaking a piece of its gravity dish. 5. Ironhole launched a full barrage from below, shaking the beast. 2, 1. Now, a massive energy pulse shot from Liberty's End, pushing back the crushing field. The ship's systems surged, then balanced. Derek yelled, "Fire everything!" The entire fleet launched their final strike. Missiles, beams, rail lances, and torpedoes all hit the silencer at once. The ship cracked, groaned, then exploded in a cloud of fire and black smoke. Admiral Vorok watched in horror as his command fell. The few remaining Dominion ships turned and ran, chased by the ghost fleet they thought was dead. Silence returned, But it wasn't empty now. It was the silence of victory inside Liberty's End. Derek sat down, breathing hard. Gideon's voice was soft now. We survived. For now, Derek replied. But the war has just begun. And across the stars, people began to whisper again. The human fleet was alive, and they had won their first real battle. The stars grew darker as Liberty's End entered the grave field of ships, a dead zone at the edge of Dominion space. There was no light, no traffic, no patrols, just silence and wreckage. Giant broken ships floated like tombstones, shattered hulls, bent wings, twisted metal, all pieces of old wars long forgotten. Every vessel here had been destroyed, abandoned, or erased from records. No one came here by choice. But Liberty's End was not like other ships. Derek Cole stood at the front viewing deck, watching broken cruisers drift outside the glass. Some were human, some were Dominion, some were ships he didn't even recognize. They were rusted and hollow now, bones of forgotten battles. Lena Ward sat beside a half-open control panel, trying to fix a failing cooling system. The wires were ancient, and sparks flew as she worked. "Why here, Gideon?" Derek asked. The AI answered, his voice echoing through the bridge. "Because here no one watches, and here the old ones sleep." Derek turned. "Old ones? There's something buried here," Gideon said. "An old ally. One of the last human cruisers built before Earth fell." Derek frowned. "You never mentioned that before. You weren't ready before," Gideon replied. As Liberty's End moved deeper into the grave field, a massive shadow appeared. It was a giant ship, easily twice the size of their own. Its name, barely visible on the side. Read, Vanguard's Reach, a battleship-class war carrier. One of the few that were never used in the final battle. Derek stared in awe. "She's huge." "She was built to carry an army," Gideon said. "But her AI never activated. A Dominion strike disabled her before launch. She drifted here, never firing a single shot." Lena whistled. "If we can wake her up." "We can't," Gideon said quickly. "But I can connect to her, and I can take control." Derek narrowed his eyes. "You want to link yourself to another ship?" "Yes," Gideon said. "But it is dangerous. If the transfer fails, I could be lost. My core may burn out." Lena stood up. "We just got you back. Isn't there another way?" "No," Gideon said. "If we want to win the next fight, we need more than one ship. We need a fleet." Derek looked at the towering shadow of Vanguard's Reach. It floated silently. Dead engines and closed doors, like a sleeping giant. "Do it," Derek said. Gideon began the process. Deep inside Liberty's End, long communication arms extended. A thick data beam fired through the dark, striking the old war carrier's hull. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the lights inside Vanguard's Reach flickered. One by one, systems came back. The engines lit with a low growl. Cannons turned slightly, adjusting after decades of stillness. Most shocking of all, old Terran banners appeared on external panels, flickering with digital life. "She's waking up," Lena whispered. But at that moment, warning lights blinked. "Enemy signal," Gideon announced. "Multiple ships entering the sector." "How many?" Derek asked. 5. "No, 10. Dominion strike fleet. They followed our trail." Derek clenched his jaw. "Can we fight them here, in this grave field?" Gideon replied. "Yes, and we can make them regret every second." Derek turned to Lena. "Battle stations." Liberty's End turned slowly, its weapons locking onto targets as the enemy fleet arrived. Dominion ships were sleek, insect-shaped, and fast, but they had never fought here. They didn't understand the field. Gideon did, using wreckage for cover. Liberty's End moved between dead ships, popping out just long enough to fire. Its rail lances struck hard, piercing through enemy armor. Dominion ships tried to circle, but they kept crashing into debris. Then something new happened. Vanguard's Reach fired. A giant beam erupted from its forward cannon, slicing an enemy battleship in half. The shockwave shook smaller vessels. The Dominion fleet panicked. "They didn't expect ships," Lena said. "They didn't expect ghosts." Derek replied. But the battle wasn't over. The Dominion dropped something large from a command cruiser. It unfolded in space, revealing a glowing core and spiked arms. "A hunter drone," Gideon warned. It locks onto AI signals. It's coming for me. The drone flew fast, avoiding gunfire, aiming directly at Liberty's end. It struck near the engine bay, and a shock pulse ran through the ship. Lights dimmed. Screens flickered. "I'm losing control," Gideon said. Derek ran to the emergency console. "How do we stop it?" "There's a kill switch," Gideon replied, "deep in the core room. You must reach it manually." Lena jumped to her feet. "I'll go." "No," Derek said. "I'll go. Keep firing." He ran through the shaking halls, past leaking pipes and old battle damage. The ship groaned with every step. Sparks flew from ceilings. The AI core room was deep, behind 3 sealed doors. He forced each open. When he reached the chamber, a glowing sphere floated in the center, surrounded by wires and shields. A spike had pierced the wall. The drone had found its mark. Derek pulled a lever to release the manual controls. A small screen blinked. "Execute emergency purge." He pressed yes. Electricity surged through the room. A loud boom shook the floor. The drone outside sparked and exploded, finally dying. Back on the bridge, lights returned. Gideon's voice came back weak, but alive. "Thank you, Captain." Derek smiled. "We're not done yet." Outside, the remaining Dominion ships turned and fled. They had come to destroy an old cruiser. Instead, they were chased out by the ancient warships fighting like they were young again. As quiet returned to the grave field, Liberty's end and Vanguard's reach floated side by side. To forgotten giants. Derek looked at Lena. "How many more are sleeping out here, waiting to wake up?" She smiled. "Let's go find out." And so the hunt began again, not for war, but for hope. For every ship the Dominion forgot, the humans would remember.